My name is Frost Gamble. I'm a hip hop producer from Winnipeg, Canada, originally from Binghamton, New York. I represent Nostalgia Click and 22 Entertainment. I started falling in love with hip hop in the early 80s. And to be honest, it was like the breakdance craze. I wasn't, I didn't immediately know about the culture. I remember that one of the first things I bought was one of those K-Tel compilations. We had like a breakdance poster in it and taught you how to backspin and all that. And that was kind of my introduction. But there was something more substantial to it. And there's some records that really drew me in, like The Message from Melle Mel. It really spoke to me. The way they talked about poverty spoke to me, but they also spoke about issues. Because I grew up poor. My sister and I grew up poor, and so I really connected the message of overcoming poverty that I was hearing a lot of songs. But I also realized that the things they were talking about, some of the things they were talking about, I didn't have to deal with, like threats of violence and those kind of dangers. So it actually made me feel better about my situation. And then as years went on, I listened to UTFO, Houdini, Fat Boys, Run DMC, all the stuff that was going on at that time. But by like 87, 88, when the lyricism just elevated, with the Juice Crew and KRS-One and Public Enemy and all the consciousness and knowledge that was going on, I was just absorbed by it. And at that point, there was no turning back. I wanted to be an MC. All right, I wrote pretty well, but I didn't have the flow. I didn't have really the voice and skills to really do that in a big way. But, for a while I started out and, did okay. I was involved in the local hip hop scene in upstate New York. There was a local mix show that allowed young artists to come on and get an opportunity. And that's actually how I met Tone Chop, who's the MC who I'm working with, along with Zoe the Jerk. Respect Is Are Not Given drops next month on September 29th. And he and I started working together back then. He was nasty right from the start. He had the voice, he had the flow, he had the cadence. So I just kind of knew he was better at it than I was. But I started, being around dudes who were digging for beats. I used to live next door to DJ Spinna, and I'd look over his shoulder when he was banging on the SP. There was another cat that had the MPC 60, same kind of thing. I used to watch what he was doing. He used to teach me how to chop snare drums and use them in beats. And I just started digging and realized I had more of a talent for beat digging and production than I did for MCing. And, started out on some bullshit equipment like, splice and tape. And I had a Gemini DJ sampler, which is just this one button joint. It had like 3 seconds of sampling time. But I loved it. I loved the whole experience. I loved everything about it. And over the years, my skills have grown and the people I've had the privilege of working with has increased, and it's just finally starting to turn into something more substantial. And I feel very fortunate for that. The Akai MPC 2000. I bought that, I think, in 97, 98, whenever that first came out. The 2000, not the XL. It didn't have the screen that moved. And I thought that was everything. And I was like $1,400, which at the time, felt like $1 million. And when I bought that, I thought, now I've got it. I'll never have to buy another sampler again. This is everything, right? And of course, nobody really wants to work with floppy drives today. But man, I banged the hell out of those pads, and I learned a lot working with that machine. And, my big goal in the '90s was to get an unsigned hype, and I truly believed we were going to do that. It didn't happen. But I was working with, I was up in Binghamton and working with a lot of the local artists up there, and there was a lot of talented cats there, but it's a tiny little market, and there really wasn't any opportunity to grow beyond that. Plus, it's kind of a difficult town. There's not a lot of opportunity there. I characterize it as having a lot of problems of a big city, but not a lot of the same benefits. So I got tired of being poor, basically, and decided to make some other moves. And one of the things that I always got out of hip-hop, my era of hip-hop, is that you've got options. Go for yours because I'm going to get mine. That's an MC Shan line that's always stuck with me. And I took that attitude to try and, make a better life for myself. I went to school and tried to do the corporate thing and do the 9 to 5. And production became something I was doing on the side because it was a passion. But slowly over time it increased. My skills got better. I started working with more people, getting my name out there. And, it turned into, something that was generating a little bit of money and a whole lot of fun. Yeah, my folks definitely weren't into it. My father's a old rock and roll guy. My mom was into the Carpenters and shit like that. So they didn't get it at all. White kid in upstate New York when everybody else is listening to Madonna and Whitesnake, and I'm obsessed with Run DMC and Houdini. They didn't get it at all. But looking back, why would they? I probably won't understand half the stuff my son's listening to when he gets a little older. It's the sense of community, the way I'm able to connect with artists off the basis of loving hip hop. Like with Zoe the Jerk, he and I met back in 2014. He was hosting a podcast. We had a mutual publicist at the time, and she hooked the two of us up, kind of a setup so we'd get to know each other. And we just immediately hit it off on the interview. And we came from different places, had different backgrounds, but it was the love of hip hop and our common understanding of your worldview, of how you see the world and things you've experienced through hip hop. So we had that immediate connection, and that happens time and time again. If you truly love hip hop, it's pretty easy to become friends with someone else who truly loves hip hop. It's a connecting force. So by far, that's my favorite part. Yeah. The biggest challenge, which I'm still overcoming, is balancing the creativity of the arts and the business side of it. For a lot of years, I completely shied away from the business side. I wanted to be pure and only focus on my art. And the result of that was my art wasn't getting out there the way it needed to get out there. So eventually I had to become comfortable with, acting more like an artist, packaging myself, putting myself out there, taking more risks in order to be a good steward of my music and hopefully get people to listen. I mean, I've been down here in NYC for the past few days, kicked it with Tragedy Khadafi, went on the DJ Toshi show, shook a lot of hands, met a lot of great people, recorded some songs. It's an incredible privilege. Very few people get to enjoy that kind of lifestyle. I don't take it for granted ever. What I want to do in this game is leave a record that I was here as a passionate, active participant. I don't care about being rich. I don't care about being famous. I care about contributing to the culture, which has given me so much, which has given the world so much. I just want to give a little bit back and leave a record that I was here as a passionate, dedicated practitioner of the culture.